But against all odds, she is now in the first grade learning to walk. And she's here this evening with her dad, Marcus, a fantastic man. Delilah, please, you are a great inspiration. Please stand up. Tonight, I'm calling on Congress to pass what we will call the Delilah Law, barring any state from granting commercial driver's licenses to illegal aliens.
And there you go, 7-year-old Delilah Coleman and her father Marcus in attendance at the State of the Union speech last night. Now, if you remember, this local family was visited recently by Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem as part of the Angel Families campaign, people who are victims of crimes committed by undocumented immigrants. Delilah was 5 years old when her family was part of this 6-vehicle crash on Highway 395 that was caused by truck driver Partap Singh, an undocumented immigrant from India. We'll have more on her visit to the State of the Union coming up later today on air and online. And joining us once again in Studio B, Ian Anderson, to give some more insight into the State of the Union. That was a special moment, not just for people here in Kern County and Bakersfield, because she's a local girl and a local family and whatnot, but it was one of those rare moments last night where both sides, both parties actually got up and were supportive.
It was a very human moment, and a lot of the rhetoric around immigration reform and you know, just trying to address the very real issue of how do we create a pathway to citizenship. This was a very real moment. You've seen all sides of this argument, and when you see, you know, a very real situation where somebody, you know, was impacted by policy. Now, from this, what do we take from this? You know, the president was talking about implementing Delilah's Law, right?
Right.
Restricting access for states to issue driver's licenses to non-documented citizens. And that's an example of how we take situations that happen, use policy, right, to try to address them. Outside of all the rhetoric, at the end of the day, it has to get into that boring kind of policy piece of it, right? But one of the things that was important is he called on Congress, right? And that's a key part to remember in the State of the Union. The president is outlining their agenda, but they must get the support from Congress. And right now, it's a very slim margin of majority in there. So any policy coming forward, including immigration reform, is really going to heavily weigh on the upcoming midterms that, you know. And
do you think we can get to that point, however? I mean, it is so, one side saying we can't have this until the enforcement is done, the other side saying we want to go back to the kind of the way it was and move from there. I mean, can we find that middle ground?
I mean, we have to. Right. I mean, that's one thing. That is Congress's job. But in some of the Senate oversight hearings that I've watched, especially with DHS presenting, I think that there is an openness at the congressional level to start to work towards this. The problem is there's a lot of rhetoric, there's a lot of individuals that are double, and even in the president's speech, he did kind of double down on the importance of his immigration policy. So the real challenge of this is really the essence of democracy, whether it's oil, gas, ag, or anything. We elect these individuals to work together and compromise. It's okay to have strong ideologies, but at the end of the day, we need to pass something, you know, similar to Delilah's Law, for example, like the president's promoting, because we're trying to address issues. And how do we do that? Conversation.
Now, are we going to get to that point before the midterms, or is everything in the next where are we at now? 7, 8 months going to be nothing but talk about tariffs, or what will they be debating?
Well, I think that the economy, including the tariffs, are going to be a huge talking point. I think the Democrats will definitely jump on that. You've already seen, you know, the party asking for refunds, and states reaching out to the president saying, we want refunds from this. So it'll be interesting to see how that is navigated. As far as the other policies, I think we're going to, each month, each week, we're going to have to kind of just see what happens. I think it's pretty clear. The president is very stoic in his policies. He's been very clear where he stands. I don't see Trump budging a whole lot, but you never know. The midterms, depending on if you know, the House majority switches, could change and impact all of these policies, everything that he talked about. could change. So I heavily encourage the voters or Kern County residents to watch this and then think about it critically and then engage with their Congress people, right? That's the most effective way to express your opinion, even more than protesting or tweeting or social media rants, right? Having a constructive conversation with your congressperson is very important.
Ian Anderson, our political analyst, thank you for coming in and sharing your thoughts. We will be talking a lot in the months to come.
I look forward to it.